So I get to the hotel and I'm in there and like everyone comes and visits and we come and chat and as we're chatting like I get told like okay, me and Christina are gonna have this 6 minute long segment where we just get to talk and tell everybody about how we met. And so I'm like, okay, that's awesome. So Christina's flight ended up getting delayed and they ended up staying and we were hanging out and they're talking to me like, hey, like, are you excited about making this move to Nashville and stuff? And I'm like, I'm stoked. Like, I was like, honestly, like, I wish that I could go out there and like be in a place where I could be, already engaged and proposed to her. And like, I've done all that. But like, right now, like I'm needing like, and yeah, especially with Blakely, like wanting to make sure that I set an example to her daughter. Cause it's like, I mean, in my head, it's like Blakely's going to be my daughter. And it's like with a kid of mine, like I want them to be treated by somebody the way, like that way. And if I want my daughter to be treated by a man that way, then I would want to treat their mom in that same manner, And so it was like, so for me, it was like, I wish I could do this and I wish it was like something that was feasible for me at this time. And I was like, and, if it was, I would love to do that. And I was like, but right now, like, this is my plan. And I started talking and like, as I started talking to producers and telling them like, where I was at and like what I was wanting to do, we actually started figuring some things out. And they had actually said that like, we could talk to Neil Lane and like, see what we could do. And we ended up like making it all like kind of come together. And I had like, they were like, yeah, like, Neil Lane said he would love to support this and like, love to make this happen. And so, we called him and we got permission on that end. And then they said, and I was like, well, I need to make sure I talk to her mom and dad and make sure I get permission there. And I want to talk to Gary and Teresa before I go and propose because I want to make sure that I have their permission because, although I know like, it's the Bachelor franchise and it's like, it's a, produced wedding, it's still a wedding. And I never like, my intention is not to like steal the attention from them at all. Because I mean, what they've done with their relationship and like their whole story has been absolutely amazing. And I don't want to take any light away from how amazing that's been and how inspirational that's been. And so I reached out to Gary and I'm like, hey, Gary, like, I know, I don't want to do this. I was like, I don't want to do this in a way that's going to be disrespectful or take away from you. And I wouldn't want to do it without your blessing. I was like, I really love Christina and I'm going to do this eventually, regardless of whether I do it today. Yeah. And me and Gary was actually one of the first people in Bachelor Nation to know that I had like that Christina was my girlfriend. Cause like actually, yeah. Like,
he did say he's good friends with you.
He did. They text even like at Blakely's birthday party. We called him and they were talking. No, he's awesome. And I met him briefly as well before.
Yeah, and his family's all awesome too. Like we're actually going to be going to his granddaughter's volleyball game up in. They're having a volleyball tournament in Louisville, so we'll be going to that this year too.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I actually like me and Gary.
They talk a lot.
Yeah, me and Gary, he's just such a great guy. Like I really do like love him a lot. He's a cool guy. He's a really cool guy. And so I'd reach out to him though, and he said, well, yeah, he's like, he's like, I know, and it was all kind of late. I mean, it was like a kind of a last minute thing, and he was like, let me talk to Teresa and see how she feels about this. And I was like, okay. And so he talked to Teresa and he said, I'm okay with it. And Teresa thinks that this is an absolutely wonderful idea and she loves it. And so,
yeah, when she was on, we were talking about it, she was like, yes. Like I was so excited. Like she really is like a more the merrier kind of person.
Yeah.
And so I had both their blessing and then I was like, okay. And so once I had their blessing, I ended up going and I called her mom and it was funny.
This is funny
because when I went to go call her mom's name is Erlene and I have a contact in my phone that's Irene. And so here I go and I call Irene. And as I'm calling Irene, I am going and I am expressing my absolute love for her daughter that is not actually her daughter for about 3 minutes and I go and I ask her for permission to marry her daughter.
It's 11 p.m. at this point.
Yeah. And so there's a big long pause and I'm sitting there for that big long pause. And she's like, hey, Brayden, like, I think you might have called the wrong person. And my heart just goes and it drops. And I'm like, this is like, it was the worst. It was like worst.
It's a bad sign.
Were you like, was your first thought like, oh my God, who am I on the phone with?
That was literally, I looked at my phone and I was like, I was just like, I'm such an idiot. Like, I can't believe that I just did that. And so, yeah, it was definitely a who am I on the phone with moment, but it was funny. I mean,
we wasted a good surprise on you, Adam Sandler. Yeah.
But so I ended up calling her mom after that. And then the convo with her mom ended up going a lot better. So I mean, I guess I'm grateful for that one. Like,
you know what, you had a good like practice run. You know, you ironed out the kinks, you got out the nerves, and then you did the official asking.
Exactly.
And so I called her mom, and then her mom loved it and like was super excited. And then called her dad, and her dad loved it, and he was excited. And so all things were in place. I called my mom and dad, and I told them.
It kind of worked out that your flight was delayed.
Really? It did. I know. How did you pull that off?
Yeah, I called
the flight.
The airlines. Hey, don't take off. I'm busy.
The air people.
Yeah.